Okay, hey everybody, this is A7X Fan Ben. Today I'm going to be talking about why you should use the VASSAL module. You may have seen my tutorial video already. I can link it in the description below. And I'm going to go over the pros and cons of VASSAL. So I'm going to go over the cons first so we can save the best for last. So one of the biggest cons is that the current module doesn't have all ship types, including sea creatures. So this is kind of a problem if you want to use sea creatures and some of the different ship types like hoists and bombardiers and things like that. It does have most of the historical ship types, the sailing ships, so I don't think this is a huge problem. And the other great thing about VASSAL is that it's open source, so at any point anybody can edit the module, the existing module, and add artwork and add the properties for those ship types. And this is something to do that I'd like to do long term, but it's just not a huge priority for me right now. But eventually we'll probably get all of them into the module. It's not as aesthetic as the physical game, so obviously the pictures aren't as good. You can see a picture of a game there on the right, and also you don't get that 3D look of the models of the ships, and it's just not, it doesn't look quite as good, and the pictures just come out as like an overhead view rather than like a 3D picture. There's some quirks in the module. So if you leave it dormant for a while without doing anything on it, sometimes you'll get disconnected faster than you might expect. This isn't really a problem because you can just reconnect very easily. If you play huge games like thousands of points, like campaign games, once you get past like around 2,000 points total on the ocean, there can sometimes be like a lag. So this is kind of annoying, but sometimes you can just ignore it. And also, if you don't zoom in or out and you just stay at the same zoom level, oftentimes the lag will go away or be pretty minimal. And most people don't play huge games that are that big, so this isn't a problem for most people. No icebergs, this is another tiny problem. Fog banks actually look, you can see fog banks in the right picture there. They look almost the same as icebergs, and they also have the dice on them because they're the fog banks. So they can be a good proxy for now, and that would be a pretty easy thing for anybody to add to the module, which I might look into. And now let's get to the pros. So it's free and open source, which is awesome. So you don't even have to buy packs, you don't have to purchase any pirate stuff, you don't have to own the game to play it, which is really cool. It's open source, like I talked about. A guy named BJ created the module. I edited it last year, and I'm probably going to make more edits to it again sometime, so you can keep improving upon what already exists in the module. And like I said, we could add sea monsters and things like that at some point. You can play with anyone in the world from anywhere in the world, as long as you have a data connection or some kind of Wi-Fi. So this is, in my opinion, the biggest pro of VASSAL, or the biggest benefit. So I've played games with somebody in Singapore, somebody in England, a handful of people in California. I'm in New York right now in the United States, so this is pretty cool. Despite the time zone differences, I've been able to play with people in all different time zones. It's really cool because a handful of those people will probably never meet in real life to play a game, or even if we did, it would be extremely convenient or inconvenient. It would probably cost hundreds or thousands of dollars just to meet to play pirates at some point. So instead, we can play as much as we want virtually, which is really awesome. This is cool too if you get separated like from your gaming group or something. You could keep up the playing through the module, even if you weren't able to meet in real life. If people move, or if you move out of a location, things like that, or if you travel a lot, you could still play. The third one, you don't need physical items to play, so you can use pieces that you don't physically own. I talked about that in the first bullet as well. And this is also great if you have a small collection. So if you're kind of lacking in a collection, or if you don't have much money to spend on the game, you can still play anything. You can play limited edition ships that cost like 20 bucks a ship, because you don't need to actually purchase them. You can just edit the ship stats into the module here and then just play them as you would in real life without having to spend money on them or own them at all. And also, I didn't really list this, but since you don't need physical items, you don't risk damaging the game pieces. Some people have expressed concern over breaking masts and different parts of the ship. So here, it's all virtual, so you have no chance of breaking a physical model. And that's good if a collector wanted to play it, but they didn't want to mess with their collection at all because they like it unpunched and stuff like that. They could play on the module without risking any physical damage to any of the game pieces. The fourth one, games can be saved so you can resume whenever you want. So this is another massive benefit. So in real life, you might have to take the setup down, or if somebody has to leave early, you might have to quit the game early. But on VASSAL, you can save the game as a file, so then you can just resume it whenever you want. So you could play by email, you could take a turn and then send the file to another person, or you could set up a time to resume the game, which I've usually done. And this is especially good in campaign games. And you can see a picture of CG1 on the right here. So Zerex and I basically just save the game all the time, and then we would just resume it whenever. So if you're playing a bigger game, this is a really great benefit, because you don't have to take everything down, and you also don't have to leave everything up, which can be a problem in terms of dust and also just the space constraints. You don't want to leave like a game on a huge table for months at a time, depending on like your living conditions. So here it's all virtual, it's all on the desktop, so you don't have to use a lot of space or anything like that, and you can just resume a game from where you left off whenever you want. The fifth one is kind of a niche thing. If you've made custom game pieces, like custom crew and custom ships, it's really easy to test them out here, because instead of using a proxy game piece in the physical game that looks different than the custom would look, you would just use the generic ship type here and then just edit the stats in and then just use it in a game here. So it's really, and it's also convenient virtually rather than a physical game. So it's pretty convenient just to jump on the module and test something out if you wanted to. And then this one goes along with the game saving. So campaign games are much easier. They're pretty much my favorite type of game, so I had to include it. And campaign games are a lot easier, and they could go for way longer. So you could have a campaign game going for months or years. CG1 did take like 3 months basically, which was really cool. And we were in different states. Somebody in California, somebody in New York were able to play a campaign game over 3 months, which would logistically be impossible in real life, because we'd have to live really close to each other, and we'd have to collaborate on meeting times all the time, and there would be intense like travel costs and everything like that. So I can't emphasize enough how much the free and open source nature and how you can save the game and play anywhere in the world with anybody is just huge benefits. I made this with PictoChart, which is a cool website. So that's where I made it from. So those are the pros and cons of VASSAL. So I hope to see you on the module. I'll link to the tutorial below, and I'll see you later.